So this is a demonstration. There's a science fiction writer called Sergei Lukyanenko, and he's talking about hysteria. I don't know why he's being interviewed, and he's talking about Ukraine, and he says there's this insane level of lies, a level of sick fantasies. Just remember all those stories about Viagra being handed out to our own soldiers, and Anton Krasovsky, who's the director of broadcasting in RT before he was sacked, or at least suspended, he says, God, those grannies, those Ukrainian grannies would spend their burial savings just to get an opportunity to be raped by Russian soldiers. And then he uses really bad language about Ukrainians, and says Ukrainians, or rather those people who are identified as Ukrainians, not as Russians. And he's being very abusive. A large number of Russians were forced to believe that they were in fact Ukrainians. They're wrong, he says. And now the other fellow, the science fiction writer, says, I went to Ukraine for the first time in 1980 as a child, and their Ukrainian children would tell me that Ukraine is occupied by Moscow people, Moscows, that if not for Moscows, they would live like they live in France. They'd be free, and that they're suffering under occupation. Those were not Ukrainian-speaking Ukrainian children. Those were also around, and they were normal. They were Russian speakers with Russian surnames. They were saying these things. One of those boys' fathers was in the military, indeed, and they were Russian and Russian-speaking. And here he says they should have been drowned in the river, right there, where the ducks are swimming. Just drown those children, drown them, right in the river. And that's not your method, because, you're intelligent people, but it's our method, it's our Russian method. Whoever says that Moscow's occupied them, just throw them in the river with a strong undercurrent. And then the writer says, well, traditionally in the Rus, they used the rod for some things. It worked better, but others, and now he comes back. He says every piece of, oh gosh, he's so rude. He's talking about ordure. He's saying there's masses of awful, monstrous people. They defecate all over the Carpathian Mountains. The Carpathian Mountains then are disgusting. Every hut over there is disgusting. Shove them into those huts, burn them up, and that's good enough for them. He's really enjoying it. The Soviet Union, says the writer, was seriously ill. Ukraine was one of the worst affected parts. He's trying to maintain some sort of dignity here. And that's because it's not supposed to exist at all, says the interviewer. And should Ukraine remain on the map of the world, he ponders. And the writer says, well, yes, because I wouldn't want to live in the same country. I don't quite know what he's saying here. With many of the people who actually remain there. So we should shoot them. That's the standard of conversation in Russian media. This fellow was suspended because he got caught, but this is routine. It's routine enough.